Welcome to the Saunders County Historical Society Museum Complex. Please take a few minutes to review our video and take our short survey. This video is created based on our strategic planning process that we like to call Focus on the Future. Think about what you like about the Historical Society Complex and where you think we can make improvements. We welcome your feedback and hope that you can share your ideas with us to help us focus on the future. The Saunders County Historical Society has more than 25,000 objects in our collections. We have a variety of items. We have farm equipment, reference material. We even have an award-winning 1939 hearse. Our objects come from across the county and from various sources. An area that's particularly important to many genealogy researchers and academic researchers are our archival materials area. We often get requests for information about marriages. Marriage license copies are very popular requests. But any number of things that we house are often requested. The Historical Society was established in 1963 with 30 original charter members. Our first acquisition was the Howard Hanson House, and perhaps you've been there at 12th and Linden here in Wahoo. The 1889 Queen Anne-style house was restored by the Wahoo Women's Club, and they assumed care of this house for many years. Recently, the house has been repainted, new storm windows have been added, new porch boards, and even a heating system was installed. In 1974, two important events occurred that helped us shape the museum into what it is today. The Wahoo Burlington Depot was offered to the Historical Society, and Joseph and Nettie Bowers deeded their property next to the depot to the Historical Society. A museum building was completed which opened in December of 1976, and in 1989, Harold Nelson donated funds for an addition that we've grown to become accustomed to here at the Historical Society Complex. This addition includes our new main entrance, basement collections area, more exhibit area, and even a loft for permanent and temporary exhibits. As you can tell from the photo, the addition was extensive, and it originally opened in 1994. We have a number of buildings on the complex grounds, and one of them is actually a log cabin. Now, the walls of this log cabin are built of logs, and they've been planed on the inside and outside, making them smoother than what we often think of in terms of a log cabin. There's a second story that can be reached by a ladder on the outside, and it was used to store grain back in the day. The log cabin was originally moved here in 1984 and has been restored to as close to the original as we could make it. If you haven't had a chance to see the inside of the log cabin, you can tell it was pretty bare bones for these early pioneers who came to Saunders County. Also on our grounds is a District 42 schoolhouse. This building was originally constructed in the 1890s, and it has been moved here to the museum grounds. It was kindly furnished by the Retired Teachers Association to look as though it may have looked when it was original and new and fresh. There are long benches on the front where children would gather for their lessons. The left of the entry, there are two types of water fountains, and even lunch boxes are displayed inside this building. The teachers were often young women that were only 16 or 17 years of age. And like all the buildings on the property, We worked to maintain it with a new roof and a coat of paint in 2000. The inside of our school building is often used by children during the Christmas on the Prairie event and at various other times during the course of the year. You'll notice that it's heated with a wood stove. Picture of our first president, President Washington, at the forefront. The school met the needs of the community. Another one of the terrific buildings here on our property is a church. Built in 1889 in Weston, the Methodist Episcopal Church was used until 1920, when it was then sold to the Presbyterians. The bell that sits on the south of the door was donated in honor of Captain William Davis and his wife Nancy by their children. The Davises donated the land where the town of Weston is currently sited. Occasionally, this church is used for weddings, and it's also a featured location for Christmas on the Prairie celebrations in December of each year. You'll notice that the interior of the church has some old features and some newer features. The woodwork, pews, and the woodwork around the windows and the wainscoting are all original. Stained glass window panes were installed in 1966. But the walls and the ceilings were paneled in 1968. Carpeting and tiles were installed in 1970. The church is as it was when it was donated, but a bit different from what it was in its original days. If you like horse-drawn farm equipment, old vehicles, fire trucks, and even tractors, the building featured here, our machine shed building, is one that should be on your to-do list. We have a number of hand tools, even barbed wire, signs around from the area, a number of things that you would expect to see in the machine shed. The machine shed was originally built in 1979 and had an addition added on in 1999. It's full of wonderful artifacts. Pictured here are just a few of the artifacts inside of our machine shed. You'll notice our award-winning hearse is kept inside there. A number of old buggies from the early days of Saunders County, farm equipment, old cars, even a tractor or two among the items in our collection. Where would we be without our postal service? Imagine this, the smallest post office in Nebraska, well, it was the smallest in Nebraska when it closed in 1988, is the Memphis Post Office. It was actually established in May of 1988 with one of the locations before the room was salvaged from a house that burned, and then it was converted to the post office by postmistress Hazel Owen in 1950. She leased the property, including the mailboxes, to the postal department. Even the flagpole was out front of the post office when it was in Memphis. The building was bought and donated to Saunders County Historical Society in 1989. Our caboose was built in the 1920s by the Santa Fe Railroad. Santa Fe Railroad was bought out by the Frisco Railroad, which in turn was bought out by the Burlington, a railroad that you may be more familiar with. Original features in this car are the stove, the bunks, and a desk where the conductor would count up the tickets. A toilet is located behind the east door on the south side, and a stove provided heat. The Saunders County Historical Society obtained this caboose in 1982. Early cabooses were nothing more than flat cars with cabins on them. But steel construction has made all the difference in caboose construction. These can be very cold in the winter, very hot in the summer. And the first caboose with a cupola was actually invented in the 1860s. We hope you'll stop by and see our caboose. Maintenance is always ongoing at the Saunders County Historical Society. We have both contractors working on the site, as well as a great number of volunteers who helped make these grounds what they are today. The depot is a favorite building among many who visit the Saunders County Historical Society. The depot was built in 1886 at a cost of $3,475. It was donated by the Burlington Railroad to the Saunders County Historical Society in 1974. The depot was discontinued in 1973 and the tracks were abandoned in 1982. Currently, it's used for Christmas on the Prairie celebrations and other events. The photo that you see in this slide shows a number of gentlemen who are working on a model train set that's set up inside of the train depot. Our depot has 2 floors. On the first floor, you'll find 2 waiting rooms. The ladies on the east side was later used as the smokers' waiting room. The men sat on the west side of the office. There's a baggage room and a freight room. On the second story of the depot, you'll find living quarters for the person who was the manager of that depot. There are 6 rooms. It includes a dining room, kitchen with a pantry, the living room, and 2 bedrooms. One of the recent acquisitions is a Wahoo-built grain bin that was donated just recently in 2017. It's going to be moved to another location on our property at a later date. It's also important to note that the corner lot south of the depot was purchased in 2017, and it's intended for future expansion. There was a small house on the property that actually was torn down. Volunteers help make the Saunders County Historical Society what it is today. Their tireless efforts include lawn maintenance, sitting at the door, greeting people, working on the archival material, and even working on our strategic plan. We want to send a huge thank you to all those who donate and are members of our organization. Thank you to our volunteers who are so generous with their time and their work efforts. And of course, we appreciate our corporate sponsors. Thank you again for visiting this video. We hope you'll take the time to complete the survey. And come see us sometime, won't you?